our inaction were both complicit and corrupt. The citizens must be able to trust that we're doing what's best for them and the city. We as council members must be able to trust each other. And I do not trust that you're acting in the best interest of the city or its citizens. I will not go into them publicly because I know that it's not an easy circumstance for you. I know this is difficult for you today. But there were two specific instances when you were not truthful with me. In order to work with you, I must know that you're being honest with me and trust that you have the city's best interests at heart. Your actions have shown that you only have your best interests at heart. And since that's the case, I believe that you need to resign effective immediately.
Judy, this is an issue that I have thought long and hard about. There are a lot of passionate people on both sides of the issue, both for you and against you, and it's been a difficult process for the entire community to go through. It's not been easy. It's dividing our community. It's been going on for too long, and there are several things that you did to cause this. First, when you and your campaign were using county resources, which you were told not to do, and that was something that was a couple of years ago, and that's not something that we can condone. However, what is more serious and more disturbing to me is the process of trying to cover it up and destruction of public records, which there are or have been employees of municipalities and probably in the city of Temple that have been fired and terminated for deleting public records. That is a serious offense. And as an employee, the city is not required to have any kind of a court or criminal case brought, just as long as they, the intent and the willful intent was justified. To me, it's you had an opportunity when it was brought up that you had used county resources, and I think at that time, if you would have just said, okay, I did, I apologize for it, I made a mistake, I didn't know what I was doing, but at that time you tried to cover it up, and I think you could have gotten out of it very easily at that time, but have not, and so now we're in the situation we are. I think if you truly did care about the city and the city working together strongly, then I think that you would resign, and I would encourage you to do so.
I too would like to pretty much say what the gentlemen have said. I too feel the same way. I would also like to say never have we supported you in this effort. I know that there are those that when it's something that happened before or now, and we have made the choice to, in executive session, to talk about it, to talk about all the procedures. This is uncharted waters that we're going through. There are laws we have to follow, and we want to make sure we do that correctly. Therefore, we also wanted to make sure we had all the information available to us, and I think we have that at this time. I too ask you to resign. I too wish we had talked about you taking this issue outside the city when all the first information came to light to each of us. I felt like that was something that was between you and the county, and that you personally, I think that should have been taken away from the city. It's distracting to the business that's at hand. It's distracting to the citizens, and it's taken a lot of time away from our citizens, not only in the efforts for the council meetings, but also just for day-to-day business of the city. It's taking staff time, and I think all that could be taken care of if you would have left when you first asked. So I would also ask for the resignation.
And I appreciate your comments, and it is a very difficult situation that we are facing right now. And as I said before, I resume my seat on the city council, and as District 2 representative because of the numerous requests of my constituents, voters, and supporters. Our concern for District 2 and the whole city has always been the first and foremost. As you know, my history of dedicating over 41 years as a volunteer and working in the community with many different projects and communities, working with homeless and disabled and working for and all the citizens and trying to make our community better. I've also worked very hard these last 2.5 years on the city to improve our community, specifically District 2, which I believe that has been ignored for many years, and we all know that. The infrastructure, the streets, the lights, the housing, there's been over 700 lots. The housing continues to be torn down and nothing repaired. Capital improvements have not been made. Those are my concerns for the city. I think that working this last year, trying to work a East Temple master plan was a first step, and I was beginning that process because that's what we're all here for, to work with the city, not only in District 2, but all over the city, and also District 1. If I leave this seat, District 2 will be left unrepresentative, which I think is unfair to the voters, to the people. Right now, the city budget is being planned. The strategic plan is being planned through the workshops and not as in a retreat like it's done in the past, which leaves us no opportunity to be able to have any voice for District 2. Again, being left out in this whole process. And, you know, I don't need to say that I apologize if there's anything that came out of all this. Definitely did not want any distraction or any reason for anything. There's a lot of factors in the issues here. They are not final at this point. I am considering what I need to do, but I will say today, I am not ready to resign. I will be weighing heavily all the things that I need to do, not just for myself, but because we don't get paid. This is for the citizens that I represent. This is what we're here for. And yes, I made some mistakes somewhere down the road. I think we all do. There's some major issues that I'm concerned about within the city that I don't think you want me to bring forward today, and I won't. So with that matter, I just want to remind the voters out there that I stand here because they have asked me to stand here. I believe you received over 500 signatures that they compiled within the last 3 days of supporters for District 2. And so with that, I stand here because of them and because of what we need to do to move forward in our community. Again, the whole issue is not finalized. Once it's finalized, then, you know, that's when I can really make a final decision. But as you know, like by the charter, until it's final, then I really don't have a real answer on what I can and cannot do. But I appreciate working with you guys, and with everyone with the city, and I want to continue to do what I can to make our city a better place, you know. I'm here to serve, that's it. No hidden agenda. I have no business. I have no other projects that I would need to be involved in as far as personally or financially. I'm here to serve. And so with that, I guess that was not comment for today, but it doesn't close the door on what I probably need to do in a few days.
My problem with that is that I think we all got copies of the signatures that were given, and certainly we don't take those lightly. And I appreciate your 40+ years of service in this community. And you brought up some very good issues that dealing with East Temple that you're right, they probably had not been addressed before, and they were a long time coming. The problem is that not only are we, when we accept a role on the council, we don't just accept a role to represent one district, because we all make one whole of a city. And this is tearing the city apart. And my job as mayor, and unfortunately, they don't have a mayor handbook that tells you how to handle situations like this, and I wish they did. But I will say that you have to all of us singularly and collectively, you have admitted at least part of your guilt with the crimes that you have been charged. You have been charged with a crime, you have been untruthful to us, and your actions are making it more and more difficult for us to effectively govern. And if you are unwilling to resign at this time, then I would be willing to remove you for good cause.
That's your priority.
And I would like Ms. Landeros to explain good cause.
Council and Mayor, as you know, section 4.15 of the city charter does state that upon concurrence of 4 members of the council, they may remove another council member from office for good cause. Any council member subject to that removal for good cause may request a public hearing of the charges prior to removal from office. The charter does not provide a definition of good cause, and we've talked about this a lot over the past few months, and that is a determination and a finding that would have to be made by the council and documented.
Were those 4 items that I just mentioned, could those be seen as good cause?
That would,
I guess I'm asking the council that.
I would say yes, sir.
Yes.
I will remind you that he has not gone to court. So there is not a final decision.
I understand that, but you have admitted your guilt to us on several different occasions.
I think you need to look at the whole picture before you really jump to some kind of judgment at that point. Okay?
What would be considered a public hearing?
similar to the other public hearings that we hold. So it would just be posted as that, hold a public hearing, you would take public comments, you would, I would believe you would do similar to what you're doing today, each make your own statements on the record as well.
And then that, at that particular meeting with the public hearing, and what I understand it, Judy would have to identify if she wanted a public hearing. And if she did, we'd have a public hearing, and then at that meeting, there would be action, potential action taken.
Yes, sir, you could take action.
And I am requesting a public hearing.
Yes, ma'am.
When is the soonest that we would be able to do that by law?
You have a regularly scheduled meeting Thursday, March 20th. If something was posted by, 72 hours ahead of time, so
So we could effectively schedule it for 4 o'clock on Thursday.
you could, if Ms. Borgson posts it by 4 o'clock today.
Mayor, if I may, 4 o'clock is when a lot of people work. They don't get off work till after 5 o'clock. So I think, in order to be fair and to allow people, the public, to have their say, that we could at least give them time. If you could push that on to a little bit later time, that would be acceptable for a lot of people who work.
Make it 5 o'clock. Regularly scheduled council meeting time. Let me ask Mr. Blackburn.
No.
Would there be the option of moving our regular council meeting to an earlier time?
I think we can still do that also, if, as long as we meet the 72-hour notice criteria, and we can, I'll up here shortly after the meeting if that's council's desire, but if your desire is to hold a 5 p.m. Public hearing in regard to this matter, then I think what we might do is post the regular meeting to immediately follow the conclusion of that rather than set a time, as opposed to
Okay.
That's right.
That may be how we do